Anyone can go on Zillow, anyone can look up a property and think that they're the real estate agent, they know their shit, and they realistically don't.
Connections don't mean much if you can't back it up with knowledge and facts. And
what makes you successful is not what you spend your time on, it's what you don't spend your time on.
Our business, the older we get, the more wise we get, the more time we spend in the business, the more successful we will become.
You think back in the day when a realtor left the office, their day is over. Before cell phones, before mobile phones.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
You leave the office.
Oh,
you can do a landline. You can do a landline call. Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rise Above the Ranks, presented by Estate Media. We are back with another incredible episode in our series of Under 30 Roundtables to discuss the next generation of realtors and the future of this crazy industry. We hope you're enjoying these episodes so far. I know that David and I have really loved having these conversations, and we hope you do as well. Without further ado, let's meet this week's guests. First and foremost, we are really excited to have you all here. We're huge fans of the four of you, and I thought it'd be a good idea to start off, go around the room, introduce yourselves, tell our audience a little bit about who you are, what you do, and let's start with you, Mikey.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Mikey.
So my name is Michael Fahimian. I'm with the Beverly Hills Estates. I'm originally from Los Angeles. I've been in the business for 7 years now, specialize in the Platinum Triangle, so Beverly Hills, Holmby Hills, and Bel Air. And my special expertise is also Malibu and the Bird Streets. So we are excited to be here, and thanks for having us.
Your special expertise is crushing it.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. And we have a team here, Jack and Mikey, who are absolutely crushing it in the industry. How old are you, Mikey?
26 yesterday.
Hey.
Oh, okay. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, guys.
And how old are you, Jack?
I'm 25.
25. You have two killers sitting right here, and we're going to go deep into sort of the way they do things, and also the same with Nichole and Alexis that we'll get to. But Jack, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So thank you guys for having me. Super excited to be here. Mikey kind of summed it up, but we became best friends about 12 years ago. Started doing real estate, believe it or not, when we were like 14 years old. We weren't repping deals or anything yet, but we were getting our feet wet, and we've been partners ever since. So, we specialize, like he said, in Beverly Hills, Bird Streets, Malibu, and Holmby Hills, and we love it. We've been really doing this seriously for about 3 years now, but it's been going super well, and we get to work with the best people and agents, and we love you guys and respect you guys a lot as well. So it's just a good time, and we love what we do. So
love that,
good man.
Dude. Love that. And we cannot wait to hear more about how you started age 14, driving in the car, learning about the real estate market. And here we are all those years later. But you have to have that passion inside of you from a young age, I believe. Okay, Nichole.
Hello, I'm Nichole. I am a single. Well, not single. I'm actually married, but I do not have
what an opening.
single. No, I don't
She just got back from our honeymoon, by the way.
I don't have a team member. I don't have another half. It's just me as of now. I'm at Carolwood Estates, and I've been there for a little over a year. I've been in the industry for, it's hard because I was an assistant for 2 years. So it's like, do I count that?
Yeah,
I
damn
do
right
count
you
it
count
because
that.
I learned so much without the pressure of everything on my back. So we'll say 7 years. 2 of those being an assistant to another agent. And I specialize, I would say, anywhere from Hollywood Hills to Malibu. But recently I've done a lot more business in Pacific Palisades, Brentwood, and Beverly Hills. Those are, and Little Holmby. I would say those are my top 4. I love it. I love it and I hate it, but I love it more than I hate it. So, yeah.
It's part of the roller coaster ride.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And
if
only
it was that easy, you get bored in 2 seconds.
Exactly. And only a certain type of person, which you guys all understand, can handle it and like it. And I think that's what all 4 of us.
What is that term when you like to inflict pain on yourself?
Yeah,
Is it a
cutting
masochist
yourself.
or a sadist? A masochist. Yeah, we're masochists. It's fine. It's all good.
Well, welcome. We're happy to have you here.
Welcome.
And Alexis Perry, who we are grateful enough to say she's a member of our team and absolutely crushing it. And just to note, Mikey, Jack, and Alexis closed on a
23.5.
$23.5 million,
23.
$23
you're
million
right.
dollar
Exactly,
deal
23, yeah.
today between the three of them, which is absolutely
Well
incredible.
done, guys. Crushed it.
Thank you.
So
did.
incredible,
Oh.
incredible
Yeah, we
work.
double end it.
Yeah, we double
Actually.
ended it, and
congrats to you
hard
guys, too.
work.
Yeah,
Congrats to you
congrats
guys,
to you
too.
guys.
So we're very happy. We got a birthday, we got a honeymoon, and we got a double end deal all
Big
here
things happening.
today on the
It's a good
podcast.
Monday.
Yeah.
Alexis, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm Alexis. I joined. When did I join your team now? I don't even know.
Nor do we.
Probably a little less than a year ago.
Yeah,
I
so-
do, because it was
It was the beginning
after
of the year.
Altada.
No, it was
Beginning of the
way
year?
after that.
Like
No,
a
it was
year
more.
after.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. I think it was like March last year.
March last.
So it's more than a year.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I've been on your team for a little over a year now. I moved to LA 4 years ago. I was always in real estate, but I didn't do sales. Like I did development, I did property management, I did building operations, and then eventually I was like, "Fuck it, I need to get my license and do sales." So I moved out here 4 years ago, got my license 3 years ago, and then joined your team, I guess, a little over a year ago. And yeah, it's been unbelievable.
Love it.
Yeah.
She's an absolute killer, works the ground, crushes it, works hard. But what I see from the four of you is work ethic. And I think in this industry, especially in the market that we're in now, if you don't have the work ethic, you really can't be successful, because if you don't work hard, someone else is going to come in and take that business from you. But going to the earlier days, to Jack and Mikey, you said you started out at 14 years old. Like, where did that passion come from? What got you to that point of being interested in this business?
So it was interesting. We actually we both played tennis growing up, and we met at a tennis tournament, and it was far. So we both made it to the next round. I think it was a Saturday, and we both made it to Sunday. So we decided to split an Uber the next day, and we were both 14 at the time. Maybe he had just turned 15 because it was in the summer, and I was 14 still.
Your parents didn't drive you?
No, my parents were. it was an hour and a half. It was like
It's
it was far, and so we split an Uber, and we went to the tennis tournament. Anyways, fast forward a few weeks, we started practicing together, and the first time we'd play for an hour, talk for 5 minutes, and by the third week, we were playing for 5 minutes and talking for an hour. And then we decided, maybe let's stop playing tennis together and start doing some other things. And we'd pretty much just talk about real estate. We both had a passion very early on from it, despite being so young. In high school, and he had a little bit of money saved up from his bar mitzvah, like like 12 grand, something like that.
You know what you did with yours?
I blew all of mine. Yeah.
Can you tell that story after?
Later.
I had
There's always a story. Sorry,
there's
go
always
on,
a
yeah.
story. I had like 10 grand saved up from birthdays and random stuff. Anyways, we took that money, we dumped it all, and my uncle at the time was doing these like county tax auction sales. where
Yes,
people
I
would-
know what you're talking. I tried to do one of those.
Yeah.
But there's like so many properties. The ones that are delinquent on the property tax.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
after a period of years, when you don't pay your property tax, you have to. It goes into foreclosure with the city, and then the city auctions them off. And lots of times, these are very, very inexpensive properties, but you'll sometimes get a $70,000 property for $8,000. So we started buying them. And I remember specifically, I was in French class one time, and it was in the middle of the auction, and I had to run out in the bathroom, and he was on the phone. He stayed home that day and faked sick and was on his computer
I
bidding
love
on
this
them. So anyways, we bought in the course of like 14 months, we bought like 6 of them. We just kept flipping them. We bought it for 8 grand, sold it for 12, bought it for 12, sold for 15.
Amazing.
And we just kept doing that. We actually still have 2 of them that we need to sell. Now thinking
Yeah,
about it.
we
Are you serious?
yeah, we still
Yeah.
do.
Where are they?
One of them's next to Dodger Stadium. We
Okay.
bought it for 8 grand. We actually
Probably worth a lot more.
it's worth
Yeah,
35 grand now. Believe it or not. Like it's
The 2 that we kept on purpose because we
Yeah.
felt like there was some
Strategic.
potential. So
Yeah.
Well, in case a
Yeah.
developer comes in, they need
yeah,
to
they
get
were in
you.
good areas and they were actually good plots of land. So
Nice.
yeah. So we did that for a little while, and then when he was 16, he started working for Jade Mills. When I was 16, I started working for Josh Flagg, and you can tell the
yeah,
rest.
so I had an opportunity to work for Jade, who is one of the legends of the industry, and I was quick to take the job, and I worked for her for 3 years, kind of learned the ropes under her, and did everything from started off in the mailroom, filing her MLS books and all her old ads, and eventually moved up to becoming a showing clerk or whatever you want to call it, setting up all her showings for her. Then upgraded to showing agent, started doing that once I was able to, and I got my license at 18. And when I say I've been in the business for 7 years, I'm also like Nichole, including those years of being an assistant and all that. And along the way, Jack and I were always partners, although he was working with Josh and I was working with Jade. We were just doing what we had to do to evolve in the market, and it's such a competitive field that you really need to do those little things because it's just part of the game. So
when we got our license, we every single night, 5 to 7 nights a week, I'd pick him up or he'd pick me up, it would just depend, at one of our parents' houses, and we would start in Holmby Hills, and then we'd drive every street in Holmby Hills, and then almost every street in Beverly Hills. And I mean every street, like every street in the Flats up to Shadow Hill, Laurel Way, Hartford, you name it. And then we'd go do the Bird Streets. And then it'd take us like 3 hours, but we'd just be talking the whole time.
To learn the streets?
Just learn everything.
This guy bought that. Oh, this house worth that much. Oh, imagine one day, we could be living in this house and we could buy a house in the Bird Streets. How cool would that be? Like, and just kind of planning our life.
I mean, you still have a place by Dodger Stadium. You said if it all goes wrong, you still got
it. It all goes wrong.
But it is amazing. So what you're basically saying, and what we got from everyone under 30 last week, is information is key, right? Mm-hmm. You were learning the market inside out, back to front. You were driving the streets. You were an assistant at one point. You were an assistant at one point. It's like, if you really want to become the best at your craft, you have to learn.
Exactly.
Because information 100%. Is
I always say,
key.
One of my mentors, from the beginning always said this business is about what you know and who you know. So just learning as much as you can, and also putting yourself in the right situation to be around somebody that's willing to trust you with the most, important asset of their life.
Yeah.
So knowing that is very important.
Yeah.
I also think, to add to his point, something that's super important that I learned early on is what makes you successful is not what you spend your time on, it's what you don't spend your time on. And it's so easy to, at first, just keep working at something that's clearly like the seller's not a real seller, or these buyers are never going to transact. They haven't for a year. What are we waiting for? And you just want to close on them. And it's okay to say, you know what, I'm going to take my attention away from this buyer who's been working with 40 other agents and
100%.
probably will never transact, and just start cold calling and just try to get listings and like pivot. And so that piece of advice has really helped me, because it's like, if you just stop doing what isn't working, you're going to end up being a lot more successful.
Yeah, I love that. We always talk about that, working smart.
Yeah.
You can work hard.
Smarter, not harder.
And we do work hard, but working smart is the key. If you're working with a seller that wants, $2 million more than what the property's worth, that's probably not the seller you want to spend 10 hours a day working on.
Yeah.
Go find someone else where you might make less money, but you're actually going to make money and build a relationship
And
with
it's
that
hard
person.
to do that. It's easier said than done when it's your first deal, right? Or you're just so excited to have a listing. And like, that's something in the beginning that I know for me was really hard to walk away. And like the first time you do it, you're kind of like, oh, I feel like a boss now.
Yeah.
So F you,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
We
like
had
it.
one of those, didn't we?
We've had several, but the one that
Yeah,
you're referring
several.
to is the one that, springs to mind straight away.
We had to fire a client. It was the most
You threw
amazing.
the
Is it
towel in
crazy
with him.
being
I was
on
like,
the
I got
other
this.
side?
I'm going to see it through. I'm going to see it through. A month later, I threw in the towel. It was just like, it was bad. It was really bad. But yes,
So
good point.
coming into the industry, Alexis, there's so much change happening right now. There's like the NAR rules and ULA and this and that. Like, what challenges have you had coming into the industry? What growing pains have you had? Tell us a little
Well,
bit
I think
about
what
that.
we were saying before is knowledge is key. Like, I'm not from here, so I think for me, I had to like really study not only like the market, but like learn LA from scratch. Like, I had to drive around, know every single area, go down every single street like you guys did, and really just like learn LA, like first and foremost. And then you need to know the market. Like, anyone can go on Zillow, anyone can look up a property and think that they're the real estate agent, they know their shit, and they realistically don't. So we need to know everything more than the buyers do. I think that, every day they put in a new regulation, a new law trying to stop all real estate transactions. I think it's definitely a difficult time to break into the industry. I I don't know. Like, I think right now with the NAR stuff, like, it's been pretty similar for us. I mean, I don't know for you guys. Like, I think it just kind of everything's going along as if nothing has happened so far. I think it'll probably stay the same. But ULA, I mean, it's definitely been a huge challenge, and just trying to overcome that has been quite difficult.
Definitely. It's no joke.
No joke.
What are your thoughts, guys, on the NAR ruling? Like,
at first I was freaked out, and the more I thought about it, I was like, this actually is just going to make things easier. It's in a way, because I know we've all worked with buyers who may be serious in theory, but we've never had a piece of paper that will actually test their seriousness.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone's like, look, if I want to buy shoes, right, and I go into the store and they're like, well, to get the shoes, you have to sign this paper. If I'm not willing to sign that paper, I probably don't want the shoes that bad. So I think it's going to make it much easier to know who's worth spending time on, who's not. There are so many things that I think are going to be difficult when it comes to paperwork, and it's going to be a big learning curve. But from a zoomed out picture or a zoomed out perspective on it, I think it's going to be great for listing agents, and it's going to take a lot of people out of the business who rely on buyer commissions.
Have you had those conversations though? Like, what have people's feedback been that you're talking to?
Sellers or buyers?
Sellers.
I've had every listing that I've had signed in the last week, no one's brought it up.
God, how many listings
Yeah,
did you
in the
get in the
last
last week?
Yeah, in the last
That's pretty nice.
I signed 2. I signed 2, and no one brought it up.
So
We have
Sure.
yet to have anyone.
I had a
bring it up.
I had people
Well,
bring it up
I don't
already.
think it's come into effect yet. So I
No.
think when it does come to effect, that's when the paperwork actually changes. But even then, I don't know. But from what I understand, even at that point, the seller can still agree to pay.
Of course.
And I
buy-side
think
commission, which they should, because
most people, like, even when I talk to clients who may not be selling right now, they're like, I want to incentivize the buyer's
Yeah.
agent. Like, why would I not?
And actually, a great spin on that is that right now, every seller typically in the listing agreement pays the buyer's agent. Okay, so it's like 4%, 5%. It's a great opportunity for a seller when you turn around to them in a listing meeting and say, listen, take advantage of this, because all the sellers or any sellers that choose not to pay the CSO, the other broker, they're actually disadvantaging themselves.
100%.
So now you can put yourself in as an advantage against those people, which you couldn't before.
100%.
Just by doing what you should, or
Yeah,
what we're all
it's
doing.
like, it's great. This is like a great opportunity, Jack.
I think any seller that doesn't want to incentivize the buyer's agent is going to have dramatic repercussions from doing so, because if you have a buyer and they're looking at 3 potential properties, ultimately they're looking to their real estate expert, who might be a friend or who they hired, in order to guide them through the process.
Who is not going to work for free.
Who's not going to work
Yeah.
for free,
Correct.
and who's not going to push the property, most likely,
Yeah.
that's not offering a compensation for that. So
Right.
I really think, sellers should seriously consider, maybe even upping it to really put them above.
Yeah, let's just get it to 6%.
I like that, Jack. I
actually.
like that.
Honestly, even like we're actually showing a house right after this, and they're offering 3%, and it's not that we weren't going to show the house
To
if
the buyer?
to the buyer's agent, and it's not we weren't going to show the house if they weren't offering 3%, but it just incentivizes
Yep.
you a bit more.
It stands out to you as an agent to
Exactly.
be thinking about that, to give it more time.
And it
Isn't
means
that what
that
they
they're
were
more
trying to
serious
avoid
of
in
sellers.
general?
Correct.
And they're there to make a deal happen. We just did a deal. I'm not going to mention the building. I don't want to throw them under the bus, but they're, offering a 3.5% commission. And
That was a good deal,
you know,
guys.
thank you. I heard you guys had the buyer in escrow before us.
The bottom line is, I think as agents
Yeah.
today, we have to control the narrative.
Yeah.
I think if you
100%.
don't control the narrative, if you're not an expert in the field, if you're not someone that knows how to control the narrative, you're going to lose the deal.
100%.
And I think Nicole's right. Being a listing agent is going to be advantageous, but I think you also, as a listing agent, need to tell your seller you can't decentivize the outside broker. Factor it into the price.
Exactly.
Factor it into your number, and nothing has changed. Yes, they've changed the rules that have been in place for 100 years, but you can still offer whatever you want as far as a commission. So control that narrative so that you don't derail
They're
the
just
process.
trying to just control. It's really just detrimental to the market between
Correct.
wildlife, this new NAR ruling. But my number one thing I disapprove of is this ULA, because
It's ridiculous.
people don't realize it's not it's not a percentage on the gain. So if you buy something for 10 and sell it for 12,
so
you're not paying a 5%
Yeah.
on the $2 million net. You're paying it on the, even if you buy something for 50 and sell it for 40 and take a $10 million loss,
still have
you're
to
still
pay.
paying the
Doesn't
5%.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
So it's and
But it
also it
wasn't
affects
thought through.
commercial,
It
which is
affects everybody.
It actually affects commercial horribly.
which
More.
and what people
Because it's a lot more
Way more.
expensive and it's a lot more money.
But what the problem is yes, it's 5%, but that's 5% of the gross.
Correct.
So really, when people are putting down, you're buying a building for $100 million and you're putting down $25 million and you go to sell it for $110 million, you're paying 5% on the total. So now your $110 million profit goes to a $3 million profit. So really, it's like a 30% tax.
Well, I really believe it's going to get
Overturned.
I mean, in November, everyone listening,
Please God.
make sure to vote for, however they try to trick you, make sure you're voting for the Government Accountability Act. Because if we get that voted in, then we get to vote again on ULA the following year. I think making the money that they thought they would. And they probably realized that they didn't think anything through. Nothing about it makes sense.
No, they literally did not think
It's
it through.
it's
so,
no one in real estate
bad.
actually thought about the rules of this. It's so clear how stupid it is. And also, let's not forget the fact that people who inherit a $5 million house they're not mansions. And it's not a mansion here, unfortunately. And like, it's the same with NAR. Like, what rules might apply in the middle of America are very different in a luxury market like New York, LA, Miami.
And it's so bad as the way it's so badly thought out that it actually makes more sense for the buyer to pay the ULA, right? And lower the purchase price and lower their property tax,
Exactly.
right?
100%.
And everyone nets the same, you know what I mean? So it's just like, that's how badly thought out it is, basically. Like, it doesn't.
There was no thought.
It's a mess, but anyhow, we will continue. So follow
But the market
Nicole's,
stays strong.
Then market stays strong, and we'll follow Nicole's advice.
And don't forget as well, sorry, Jim, to interrupt,
problem.
but if we've got ULA against us right now, and we've got these commissions against us right now, and we've got high interest rates right now, and we're all still crushing it, i.e., you
things are
just guys
still-
close a big deal. Imagine, it's not if, it's when interest rates go down, and the bonus of ULA getting repealed, if it does, great, it's going to blow up. Like, we are going to
100%.
go from there to like there. It's going to be amazing.
100%.
So I'm all about that.
Also, the last
Yes.
thing I will say, like, I'm representing the buyer and seller on a deal right now, and it has me thinking, like, no one's going to do that for 2.5%.
No.
Oh my God, it is
Oh, double
so
N, yeah,
much
forget it.
work.
No way, yeah.
And it's intense.
Well, you will, but people that aren't probably as good, and they're going to do a,
I just
you
don't.
you pay peanuts, you get whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
But
that
like,
kind
they're
of
trying
thing.
to stop
Pennywise,
dual
pound
agency,
foolish.
and
Yes,
this encourages
exactly.
it. You know, like, how is this supposed to? Like, they want to take away dual agency. NAR does.
I'm not just saying this. I, as a seller, knowing you guys, would rather pay 5% knowing you guys are my listing agents
Correct.
than 2.5% to some
For
Joe
sure.
schmo that doesn't know what they're doing.
But
And
a lot
that's
of
the
people
kind
don't
of
get that.
agent they're going
You're
to get.
sacrificing way more than 2.5% in value you're
Yes.
losing than you
Correct.
are with the
Yeah.
commission you're paying.
It's a matter of time before people start to realize
Yeah.
that, and things change, and sellers will have to become more reasonable.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're good. Okay, shifting gears.
We
So,
could go on for
Alexis,
hours.
Yes.
if you right now, and this will be for each of you, because I think this is a really important question, and it's one that we're always asked. If you could give another up and coming real estate agent that's getting into the business one piece of advice, what has been the most valuable lesson that you've learned so far being in the industry?
I mean, I think for me, it's a little the way I became an agent is a little different than all of yours. I'm on a team. So like, I think for me, like, I'm not from here, and just having someone like a mentor, both of you guys, to lean on for everything, I think is like really important for me until I get my feet on the ground and feel comfortable enough to go out on my own. But like,
great.
one
So,
day.
should we leave in 6
One
months?
day.
Sweet. Yes,
But
great
I do
piece of
think,
advice.
like,
Brutally honest, Alexis.
that's
Nothing
the New
like
York
a
in
New
me, always
Yorker.
on it. But I do think that like I like having the team. Like, I come from a corporate background, so like I come from working with people all the time, and like real estate can be a really lonely industry of just working alone. So I think that like being on a team, having people to lean on, just bringing, like, even for a listing, like if I have a big client that I want to get the listing and I'm still new to LA and like I don't have a name for myself yet, I bring you guys, and like just to have you guys to lean on, I think has been super helpful. So like I think that like anyone getting into the industry now, just having a good mentor, having people to lean on is important.
Yeah, we hear that over and over. You know, learning the market inside out, doing it with people that know it, not that we know it. No, I'm joking, but I know what you mean. Joining a team, being with people that, you know, you can lean on to learn and gain advice from.
I think we know the market pretty well.
I was joking. is beneficial.
Nice
What about
story,
you,
yeah.
Nichole?
Well, my top two we kind of already covered, which
Yep.
is work smart and know everything know more than the next person. So I don't know if this is advice. It's more of a warning, or like ask yourself, are you prepared to work 24/7? And if you're not, it's not for you. And if you are, great. But it's time management, I would say. Like really, because this is such a 24/7 business, you need to come up with and I experienced this on my honeymoon. It was like, all right, these 4 hours a day, every few days I will sit down and work, but then I have to like allow myself to detach.
That's the hardest thing to do.
And
for
it's
me.
impossible.
Yeah.
And it was so impossible. My assistant was like, can you stop texting me? Like everything's fine at inspection, just relax.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the advice is manage your time. I guess that's work smart.
It is, yeah.
You know, I keep going back to the working smart thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's having thick skin. Like you have to have thick skin and remember that like if one thing falls through, there's 5 other things that won't right after.
Mm-hmm.
And just to stay strong because it can be intense.
It most certainly can. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Jack, Mikey, advice,
Well, a
up
few
and coming
things.
agents.
I think the most important things are, one, being consistency, just keeping at it, doing it every day, just being the best that you can possibly be in terms of market knowledge, in terms of putting yourself out there, meeting new people. I think, like Mikey said a little bit ago, it's not what you do, it's who you know.
Mm-hmm.
This business is obviously about who you know, but it's also about what you know. If you know, connections don't mean much if you can't back it up with knowledge and facts, and so I think that's very important. And the third thing I think that's very important is if you think you can't, you're right, and if you think you can, you're right.
Yeah.
So
Was that Henry Ford?
yeah, exactly.
Right?
So
It's a great saying.
and it's absolutely true, because if you think you cannot make a deal happen, you're not-
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
exactly,
basically, yeah.
and it's all manifestation. We talked about this.
Yep.
A few months ago, you used to not want to jinx things,
Yep.
but now you speak them into existence.
That's right.
Oh,
Which
I'm
is-
so
which is
suspicious
so
of
powerful,
that.
right?
But I
So,
can't say it.
because everything that you see from all these ultra successful people, they planned it and thought about it and really lived it before they even got to experience it. So, and it's a tough business because one day you can have nothing, and then the next day you can have 5 deals.
Yeah.
So just staying positive and remembering that
Welcome to the world of sales,
can't-
right?
exactly.
But I love all of that.
But yeah, that's
so true.
that's what I would say.
Yeah,
So true,
I
Jack.
love that answer. Mikey.
Yeah, and this is something that, Jack and I talk about all the time. Never get too low, celebrate, the deals that you have. But back to your question is, I think it's so important to pick your market when you're first getting started and really know everything. I think it's just so difficult to know everything, about, let's call it from the Hollywood Hills all the way down to Malibu. If you're just, running around from the Bird Streets to Santa Monica to Malibu back to Beverly Hills, it's just not realistic in this market. It's just so competitive. Picking your market, learning everything about that market, and just staying consistent, being around the right people, surrounding yourself with the right people. And this is a business where over time you're going to get better because things are going to start coming together. You're going to meet the right people. You're going to learn. And what's great about it, and something that I love, is it's one of the only businesses that with time you get better. In a lot of industries, let's call it an athlete, they have a short window where, their career is over. Our business, the older we get, the more wise we get, the more time we spend in the business, the more successful we will become. And, you guys are a prime example of that. I mean, you guys have been doing incredible for years, but
We're old.
no, not at all. I mean, James is still in his 30s. I know
Yeah.
you just turned 40.
Sorry, I'm old. By the way,
James
you're
only
40,
got a
but I'm
month
old,
left. He's
yeah.
only got a month left. So,
That's so good.
but I mean, it just, staying consistent, picking your market, of course, expanding after that. But when you're first getting started, really pick where you want to be and go from there.
God,
Amen.
I truly love this segment.
It's nice
right
to be
now.
able to learn from you guys.
Yeah, like we truly learn from you guys, and I'm hearing work smart, learn your shit, be passionate, manifest. Like these are all the things that we have to do in this crazy industry because no one gives us a check Friday at 5 p.m. Like you write your own paycheck in this industry. So if you go around with a negative mindset Monday through Monday, you're probably not going to make any money. But if you go through this industry with positivity and the glass is half full, and like Jack said, you manifest your success, you write your own paycheck. You can be as successful as you want to be. You can create your own level of success. And watching you guys coming into this industry with that hunger and that passion and that knowledge of working smart and really fucking going for it, like you can be as successful as you want to be. Which leads me to the next question, which is, what do you guys feel some of the biggest differences are today versus previous generations? You talk about working as an assistant with an agent that's been doing this forever. What are the differences that you guys are seeing as newer, younger realtors today versus the old school realtor? Like, what are you doing differently?
Meaning when old school, like
I
meaning
have so many answers.
you guys are the new school of real estate, right? You're coming into this industry, you're being hit with all this change. Like, what perspective can you bring to the youth of this industry?
I'll just say one thing that came to mind. I think homes are being sold on social media in a way that has never happened before. And when I say, I'm not saying like you post an ad for sale and it gets sold. I'm saying like I'm making connections the way I would normally, or someone would cold call, let's say, via social media in an approachable way. Because when you pick up the phone, hey, would you sell? That person's probably spoken to 100 other agents because that's the world right now. Everyone has access to everyone's information. Whereas when my dad was in the industry, he'd have to look at Yellow Pages and go knock on the door and he'd get the person in person. And that's a lot easier. Now you go door knock and the ring answers and it's like, I'm not home. Mm-hmm. So I think you have to use social media to your advantage. And we're seeing that, but like, making connections via social media, even if it's not just about a listing, but you start to notice trends about somebody, reaching out to them in a warmer way versus just like cold calling. So I think social media can be a great thing. But I also see how it's such an oversaturated market now. Like there's like, you probably talked to a seller who's talked to 40 other brokers who called them before. It's like, how do you differentiate yourself?
I totally agree with that. Just, the market that we're in, it's all about getting as many eyes on the property as possible. Your photos are so important. The way you pitch the house is so important. And I think before it was a lot more straightforward. Come see the house, you like it, you don't like it, no Zillow, no Redfin, all that stuff has really changed the industry. And everyone thinks they're a realtor now. And, it's funny, but it's true.
No, it's so true.
The
Everyone
barrier
thinks
for
they're the
entry.
expert. They all think
they know, and they have all their favorites saved, and they're a lot of the times we're out running around. The client sends us the house and says they just reduced it faster than we can even see it because they have it pinned on their phone. They have the notifications, and they just dropped it $200,000, or you know what I mean? Oh, it's open this Sunday, and they think that they're doing their job for you, but we're in other showings, and it's, of course we have the market knowledge, but I think that aspect of it has changed a lot. Social media is huge. I even have a lot of people, sometimes I'll be joking or I'll be out and they'll come up to me like, I have to unfollow you on Instagram because every time I open my phone you're posting a house and I don't want to see that anymore.
I think, but then it's like our sellers like, why aren't you posting our house?
And I was just gonna say that. And then you have on the other side, you have why are you posting that house and not my house?
Right.
So just it's so much going on, and the industry has changed so much. And I think this new NAR situation is going to change it again.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's changed so much in the last 15, 20 years, and I think it's going to change again so much more in the next year, 2, 5 years, however this plays out. I think it's going to be a lot more off-market deals. I think it's going to be a lot more relationship-based. I think it's going to be which agents you have relationships with, who's willing to compensate who. And I think that for us that have kind of broken that barrier, it's, you know, going to be a unique opportunity. But I think for people that are just getting started, it's going to be completely different and a little bit more difficult to get it going. But it's just part of the game, and people adapt, and, you know, everyone will eventually catch on to it. But like Nichole said, I think, you know, social media, you know, getting as many eyes on the property as possible is where we are at.
But every generation thinks that it's hard. Like, I always ask people 30, 40 years ago, I'm like, ugh, I just wish I was born 30 or 40 years ago, because nobody would have cold called that house. Or, think about what you could buy in Brentwood Park for this price. And what my dad says, or what people of that generation say, is like, there were our own hurdles then. You know, there's nothing's ever easy.
Could you imagine we didn't have DocuSign and emails?
No, I don't know how they did it.
My OCD, I have my Dropbox, thank God, right? That's my filing cabinet.
No,
Do you
how
know
did they
what my
do
filing
it?
cabinet would look like if there was not Dropbox? It would be a whole room full of stuff, but it would all have to be, I'd be going crazy with it. Then God forbid there was a fire, that'll be it.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
But
I'd
also,
have to have
like,
2 copies. I'd have to have like an off-site
Here's the
version. of it.
OCD.
You gotta have a,
Yeah.
you gotta have a vault.
It would drive me crazy. So I'm very grateful for Dropbox and emails.
Oh, that's
yeah, like, I
brilliant.
feel like 30 years ago, there were a lot of things that were a lot simpler.
Mhm.
But there were challenges to that too.
Correct.
So it's give and take with
Yeah.
social media and DocuSign and all the things we have.
But do you think back in the day, when a realtor left the office, their day is over? Before cell phones, before mobile phones.
Yeah.
It's a good
You
question.
leave the office.
Oh,
You could do a
that
landline.
sounds
You could do a landline
great.
call. Yeah, but I used to say to my
Yeah,
grandfather wasn't a
landline.
realtor, but he ran a big business, right? And I said to my mum, "What was it like with grandpa?" Because you get like pulled into this social media, cell phones. You can't escape. She said he'd take the bus to work. He was a big CEO, but he liked to take the bus. He actually had to wait for a bus or a taxi, whichever showed up first, he'd take. But when he came home, that was it. You leave the office, you're done until you arrive at the office the next day. Not
It's
anymore.
crazy.
That would really stress me out.
Yeah,
Though.
not
Think about
anymore.
how much waiting for you at the office the next morning.
Oh, horrible.
Oh.
I wouldn't like that.
But I think it's just the norm at that
Yeah.
point,
It is.
isn't it?
Everything just changes with the times, and now we're in the norm of you're connected 24/7.
Exactly.
It's just how it is. Okay, Alexis, I want to know from you and each of you, is there a moment in your career that you have personally felt, I've made it?
Does
And
anyone
like a
feel that
milestone.
way?
And I know that it's early on, but is
Yeah.
there a moment for you where there was a milestone that you felt, I've made it and I'm on the road to success in this business?
It's
And what
hard
was it?
because in this industry, as soon as you close something, you have to start working again for the next deal. It's not like you close something
Boom.
and you can just
That's right.
relax. So it's hard to feel like you've made it, because then you're like, okay, when's my next paycheck? It's always like, when's the next? When's the next? So I'm never just like relaxing.
So you're never satisfied.
we're
You've
never-
never, I've
That's
made
probably
it.
why you're successful.
Correct.
I mean, I personally am not there yet. I don't
Okay.
know.
Well-
When I have a source of income that I don't have to keep working for.
No, I love
No,
that.
that'll
I
never
love that.
happen.
I
I
know.
don't
So
think
it's
it'll
like
But I do think there's a lot of agents in our industry who make a paycheck and they'll go on a month vacation.
Yes,
Or they'll
there
make a
are.
paycheck and they'll go buy themselves a watch. Or they'll make
Yeah.
a paycheck and they'll spend all the money. Like, I know our mentality has always been make a paycheck and get to the office even earlier the next day.
Exactly.
well, you can make a paycheck and then not get paid for another, I don't know,
Correct.
for 6 months
That's
or
the
whatever the next
mentality,
deal
though.
is.
I always
So it just-
pretend I have nothing in escrow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. When you actually close an escrow, yeah, it's a win, but you got one less property in escro.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
exactly.
like,
Do you know what I
Shoot,
mean?
okay,
It's
so
like
I
it's
have another
dwindling,
one.
you know. So
Exactly.
you got to get another one.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Correct.
AP, what is the milestone though? Do you remember one specific deal you did? Do you remember one achievement, one accomplishment?
Well,
That's a
that
good one
was so.
for
It is a
you.
funny
That
story.
was like, I'm here to stay. you
my
know?
first. It was my first.
Second deal.
No, but it was my first listing.
Yeah, it was
My first listing, Nichole had the buyer, and my first listing, it was 19.7 million, which is
What?
crazy. Yeah,
First listing?
my
Wow.
first
Wow.
listing, and I mean that was insane. That's like
that
hard
was,
to
that
get.
was crazy for me too because
Yeah,
That was my first 2.5% on a $20 million deal. And I was like, what the
Oh, that sounds lovely.
But that is it was a funny
like
story.
that right
actually, but then like, again, the next day I'm like, all right, what now?
Yeah.
Yep. I love that. And when we have our deals, we go through our deals multiple times a week. And whenever we don't have a long list of escrows, we're like, we need more escrows.
Yeah.
We need more listings. I really think you need to have that mentality in this industry. Like if you become complacent, you can't be successful. If you become comfortable, it's time to become uncomfortable. And I feel like people that just float at this level of comfortability, they're never going to grow. So in the second we become comfortable, we shake ourselves and try and see what barrier
I don't think I've
we
ever
can
been
break.
comfortable. I can't afford to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And neither can you actually. But
Definitely not.
That's what we all have in common though.
Correct.
Like every successful agent, I feel like we all just get each other because we're all crazy in our own way.
do you have like systems? Because we will do the weekly meeting. We have our escrows, our actives, like coming soons. Do you guys, you as a team, do you guys?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. We communicate a lot.
We talk like 5 times a day.
Several
about
times
it.
throughout the day.
Do you have like
you
a
live
spreadsheet?
together.
Yeah.
That
By
says
the
it all.
way, this could be so
I
differently
just
perceived
love-
based on the conversations. And like,
Not together
yeah.
in the same room, but together.
We met. We stopped playing tennis. We started talking. We moved in together.
But I
Basically.
have to say, I admire your friendship.
Yeah.
I
Thank you.
admire
It's
your
amazing
business
that you do what you
partnership.
do.
Thank
I
you.
admire your work ethic. I actually
Yeah.
admire all 4 of you in your own way. Truly. I admire so many people in this industry, but watching young people come in and hearing the commonality between everyone we had on this sofa last week and you guys today, it's that drive, that passion to succeed. And like watching you two, again, it's like you're 2 young guys just figuring it out. Like you don't need to come into this industry and think about what you're going to do. You just need to do it. You need to
Exactly.
do it, and it's action. And if you take action, you'll become successful. Was there a moment for either of you that was like, I've made it, or a deal that you did, or something that happened where you were like, we're good at this?
So it's an interesting question because I've watched a lot of interviews of successful. Like I have a thing where I love listening to autobiographies and podcasts and reading books about very successful people, and that question comes up a lot. And most of the most successful people in the world often say that there wasn't a moment where they feel like they made it to the top of the mountaintop
Because they're not there.
because they're never there.
Yep.
And the unfortunate and maybe fortunate thing is they never will be there no
Yeah,
matter
it's like,
what they
are we ever going to
Yeah.
be
achieve.
satisfied?
So by all means, I feel like we feel very happy and excited where we are at our age in our careers.
You're just getting warmed up,
But
really.
we're just getting started.
There you go.
Yeah.
So there have been certain deals though, and it doesn't even depend on the dollar amount of the deal. There's just certain deals that just felt extra good. Like just even thinking right now, 2 deals that stood out to me is one of our good friends had a house he was trying to sell for years. He put it on the market himself. He's an agent. Then he had 3 other agents put on the market, and then just couldn't sell it, wanted out so badly. And then we took over the listing and we double-ended it and sold it for a big profit for him when no one else could sell it. So like things like that, even though it wasn't a huge deal, it was like a $7 million deal.
Which, by the way, is huge
That's
by,
huge.
by
not
national
saying it's not,
standards.
but yeah. But it felt extra good because instead of we just got a sale, it felt like we're actually very good.
You took
at
an
what we do.
So
unsaleable
what did
property
you
and
do
double-ended it.
differently?
Yeah, what did you do?
We
differently?
reshot it. We had it painted. We painted the garage door, painted the gates, had it a little bit re-landscaped, had the decks all stained, and once we saw and the buyer wasn't even like our own client. They just like walked in and then we repped them. But we just really tried to change the vibe of the house. We kept the price the same, just did all those tweaks and just put a lot of effort and energy into it. Not because it was the biggest deal ever, but because it was our good friend and we wanted to prove it to ourselves. Like, okay, this is one where it just shows if you're actually a good agent or not.
Yeah.
And then
your
we sold
friends
for
think you're lazy with them, so it's even more.
exactly.
You
Yeah.
know?
100%.
Like every
Bef-
friend thinks you
Before Jack even said that, that's a deal that came to my mind.
Love
it
it.
was a listing that had been listed with a couple of reputable agents. The seller was an agent himself as well. He had listed it himself, couldn't sell it, and he called us and he said, "Look, you guys are selling everything you're touching. I want to give you guys a chance." And we had a meeting with him, and before we even took the listing, we said, "Look, we don't just take on any listing. You got to give us something to work with. You have to give us a little bit of cash for us to come and do our thing." And like Jack said, we restaged it, we reshot it, we, did some paint touch-ups, we moved some things around, really created that vibe and did what we do. And in order to sell it, for the number that he wanted, those things had to be done. And, once he gave us the green light to do that, we took on the listing and, came full circle. We double-ended it.
Love that.
And again, like Nichole and Alexis said, definitely, there's still so much more to achieve. It's tough, at this point in any of our careers, I think, to say that, we're at the mountaintop. I don't even think you guys, think that. I don't think any of us. So, Alexis definitely hit the nail on the head with that answer. Of course,
there are certain deals that feel extra good.
Oh my God.
There's nothing better when it's listed with someone else and then you can get it and sell it.
Oh,
there's no better feeling.
And the truth is you really didn't do anything.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, I've had that and I was like, I've done the same thing where it was like a house in Little Homeby. It was really hard to sell, sat for 2 years with someone else, and I took new pictures, put it on the same price, and found the buyer. So I'm not diminishing your efforts.
No,
but I didn't do anything different, and so sometimes
it's
really
the right energy.
Either way,
I'd rather be lucky than good.
It may have been the photos. You never know.
Yeah. Forget any of that. You did your job by getting the listing. It doesn't matter that timing was great. Like, you got the listing, therefore timing is everything in this business. Hard work is everything. Creativity is everything. But if you didn't have the listing in the first place, you couldn't have created that sale anyway.
Exactly.
So I would in all industries of sales, like, if you get to that point, doesn't matter how it went down, you did your job.
Exactly.
We've done that, remember, on Kip.
Exactly.
Because it was just ridiculous. It was on the market for 3 years, and then they just said, okay, they bought us on. We were referred by another broker.
That Tuscan one, right in the corner. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember when you guys sold that house.
No way.
The first showing. Remember, years. Guy bought it.
Yeah.
I couldn't
No
believe
way.
it. I
No
swear.
way.
But we did, to be fair, we painted some walls. We did.
That was kind of like
we did
ours.
the staging.
But
it was
It's just
pure
right buyer
luck.
at the right time.
Pure luck. Yeah.
I just thought of
Right place,
one
right
other
time.
thing of advice.
Well, I'm going to ask, because my last question for everyone is any parting wisdom that you'd like to share with the audience. So please kick us off.
I think a lot of younger, newer agents forget one important thing. Your relationships with agents are just as important, if not more, than your relationships with your clients.
You always say
100%.
clients come and go, agents stay.
100%.
We spoke about this last week.
Well, I was also
We've
going to
all
say,
made mistakes.
Yeah.
I made one mistake and I'll never do it again. You know, and it happens because you're just young and you don't realize that person will be there again. And it's so important. And I think what's so special about everyone under 30 or even over 30, we're getting to bond as we grow together.
What about over 40?
And over 40.
Well, see you in 3 weeks.
Were you guys on podcasts?
Or whatever it is.
Were you on podcasts 10 to 15 years ago together talking? Probably not. And so I think that's really special, but it just made me think there's so many people who don't realize that you should always do right by agents.
Yeah.
100%.
That's a huge part that's different in our generation. It's we have a group text, we talk all the time, we go out socially, we want to do deals together. It's more collaborative.
We're not going to cut each other out. We'll do the right thing.
Yeah.
And if you do cut that person out, we'll remember.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, they say
won't get the
good.
pocket.
They said decent good agents compete, great agents collaborate.
Yeah.
It's true.
I like that. Who said
Love that.
Actually, the head of art at Sotheby's was talking about art agents, but
it's all
I
the
think
same
I
thing.
think it
All the
applies
same
to real
thing.
estate.
I love
too.
it. Collaboration. It's the key
So
for
should
the
we
long
all
term.
create a team?
Yeah, just
But that's what we did. 8 months ago, we started this group of the top producers, 35 and under, and we meet, once every quarter.
brilliant.
All of us are obviously in that group, and we send off markets we have, and we really just collaborate instead of compete. But it's so important to have good relationships with agents because there's so many times where you're going to be competing against another agent, and if you have that one extra thing, that gets you over the hump.
And it works.
It works.
I mean, that's
It
how we
works.
just closed our deal today.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
We collaborated on that. We have another deal in escrow where we just be out 7 offers just because of our, of course, our price and terms. Your price and terms have to be great always.
But relationship.
But relationship, they have to know
puts
you're going to close.
Yeah.
And
and clients really see value in that. I'm like, oh, this
100%.
agent's my friend. And
Yes.
they're like, oh, okay, let's go see it. You
Clients
know?
love that.
and it's so important because to have a good agent, and people don't realize, they're like, okay, if their property's there, I could go see it with any agent and I'll get it. But if you have an agent who has that special relationship with all these big time
Yep.
agents, you know, then they'll see the property through the finish line.
Yeah.
They'll ultimately end up getting you the house.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that,
Yeah.
dude. Really amazing. Mikey, any parting wisdom outside of that?
I mean, I agree with, what they all said, but I would say just, stay, true to yourself. Just do what is right. That's going to take you the long run, always.
Yep.
It's going to get you to where you want to be. Just do right and, always, stay positive and work with each other. That's the key.
Love that.
Agreed.
Love that. What an unbelievable segment. If you're a new agent and
I learned a ton
Yeah.
from you guys.
you
so
listen to this,
sure that
Well, vice
everyone
versa.
watching will.
you've
Yes,
just learned
vice
a
versa.
shitload of great information, and you are hearing it from 4 top
The
agents.
future of real estate.
Yeah, and 4 top agents
Or
in
the
one
current,
of the
yeah.
most competitive markets, I would say, in America, if not the world, because conquering the market in LA is not the easiest market to conquer.
But it's
as we've
fun.
seen.
Am I allowed to ask you guys a question?
Please.
That
What-
kind of was one, right?
What was the hardest thing in your first 5 years? Like, what was your breakthrough moment?
I think our breakthrough moment was the same as everything we've discussed today, is learning the market inside out and back to front. We didn't know the market. We
Yeah.
weren't from here. We didn't have a contact in our phone book. We started with nothing. I look back at it today and I actually am grateful we knew nothing.
Yeah.
Because the less you know, the more you can learn. The more you know, the more you can talk yourself out of doing something. And Dave and I were in the dark, but we were willing to work hard and we were willing to try new things. And the most important thing, we always talk about the door knocking aspect of our success early on. It was door knocking 10 hours a day.
Oh, it's so
It's
miserable and
Fine,
scary.
but until you close a $6, $7, $8, $10 million deal,
Yeah.
and now we look back at our business, a lot of those deals were teardowns that we've now sold for 20, 30, 40 million. So I guess for us, it was just going out, working hard, and, really not letting fear stand in the way of our growing pains.
And how many years have you guys been working in real estate?
Here in LA,
Yeah.
we've, think it was 2011 stroke 2012. So like 13, 12 years, 11, 12 years. Yeah. 11, 12 years.
But we started
It's not
in London.
that much longer than us. Like, that's
No.
really impressive.
It's just that we're fucking old now.
No, you're not.
Anyway, that is all the time that we have. You guys are incredible.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
guys
you
for
for
having us.
Thanks for having us,
all
guys.
this success that you guys continue. Thank you for joining us. We hope everybody has enjoyed this conversation. Please let us know.
Before you end, sorry to interrupt,
Yes.
are you going to flip the coin?
Oh,
Can we do?
does anyone
do
have
that
a
off
coin?
camera.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's do
fine.
it
I
off
was gonna
camera.
say.
All right, guys, that does
tell
it
you.
for this week. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank
We
you.
hope you've enjoyed the conversation. Let us know who you guys would like to see featured on future episodes of Rise Above the Ranks. In the comments, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow Rise Above the Ranks and Estate Media wherever you get your favorite podcast. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next segment.